Thanks to LL Bean for presenting today's storybook with limited commercial interruption.
How was your morning?
All my life, changing every day, in every possible way. In every possible way.
Salt is so important and has been important to the livelihood of man since the beginning of time. There's been wars fought over it. It's such an important, vital part. It's the only rock that we eat, and you can't live without it. When we started, we did reach out to a few companies that could pump water for us. We found out where they were pulling from, got a map, went and looked at those sites, and it was not for us.
We didn't want our salt coming from there, our water coming from there, any of that. You think about where you're getting it, how many boats are running in there. I mean, obviously it's the ocean, so it's all sort of feeding the same thing, but you have a much better chance on an incoming tide to get cleaner water.
We won't pull after, like when the tide starts coming out, because all you're getting then is everything that's gone into where the golf courses are and the farms. When I see people carelessly fertilizing their lawn or use discharge permits, it's incredibly frustrating.
On so many levels, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much bigger than just our business. Ocean health is everything to us. During COVID was when we really made a go of it. My aunt and uncle on their boat, and my family and I on our boat every day, engaging socially while being outside. And I had asked my aunt and uncle, would you be interested in starting this business with us? And they were very enthusiastic, and it's been so fun. That's why I feel like if we go left, we'll be in good shape.
I'm gonna go a little faster then.
Yeah, why not? We always come at incoming tide, and then we'll pull almost at the slack tide. This is just our hose that we have hooked up to a pump. So we'll get this down. Ready when you are. We could call a water company and they could deliver 10,000 gallons of water for $100 and we'd be done. It would be so much easier, but I really care about doing it the right way. Some of the videos we post on our feed will get comments like, you can't possibly think that's the most efficient way to get water from the ocean. It's like, of course it's not. We know this isn't it's not the easiest, it's not the fastest, it's not the most efficient, but it's providing a better product. Here's one of our greenhouses. This is one of the ones that we use the pans to evaporate the seawater in. And you can see there's a few different stages of the process right now. These are the ones that were just filled, and they'll take about 3 weeks to turn into brine. So once about 80% of the water is evaporated, you start to see the calcium on top. I didn't want to boil the water from start to finish. It is just not environmentally sound. It's not a sustainable process. Really what we're trying to do in the greenhouses is the bulk evaporation, where we're getting rid of the majority of the seawater and being left with the salt behind. After we get the brine from the greenhouses, we'll heat it on a nice low heat to get that beautiful flake salt. And this is right after we've pulled it. You can see all the different shapes. And then after this, we'll put it in our dehydrator. And after that, it'll come out like that. This is a more modernized way of doing it, but it's also so basic. We go and get water from the ocean, we put it into pans, and we let the sun evaporate it, which is really cool that you don't really have to do a lot to it. We don't add any preservatives, any chemicals, any anti-caking agents. We just let Mother Nature kind of do her thing, and then we get this beautiful salt product out of it. That's so important to us because you're eating a concentrated form of the ocean. So I only want to do something that I would want to eat myself, so I'm only going to produce something that I feel is the highest level. A little pinch of salt in your coffee is a game changer, especially on, like, if you have a latte or a mocha or anything like that. Just a tiny little crumble on top, it's so good. And all that you're doing with the salt is just enhancing the flavor of what already is there. Before refrigeration, it was essential for everything. Just preserving food. You couldn't have food without it. Everyone had a local salt production because that's how important it was. And then it just sort of stopped and it became this mass-produced product, and everyone forgot about what chemicals were being put and how it was being bleached. And it's kind of really cool now. There's this resurgence of more small craft salt makers. Our community has been so wonderfully supportive, and we have been so well received, and we have so many champions in other small businesses, which has been amazing. One in particular, I've become friends with Amy, who's a local potter, and she has just been such a cheerleader for us in particular. And she's a small business in town, but has really kind of guided us. And we found that with so many different small businesses. They've just reached out and helped us. We have a female-run kelp farm, Salt Sisters, that provides kelp for us for our bath soaks, and we trade salt. And it's just, we have a local candle maker that makes candles with us, and it's just been so nice to have that community of predominantly women-run Maine businesses working together.
Lauren, her friend Sarah, and her aunt Kathy, the three women are running it, and our daughter gets to see that and understand that that's not out of place. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I grew up in York. I grew up on the beach. I grew up either surfing or parking at the beach all day. It's always been important to me to be able to have a career now that utilizes this, the ocean and the beach that I grew up in loving, is pretty much the best thing you could ask for. People are respecting things that take longer and are a bit harder to make, and so it might come at a higher price point, but it's done in a very respectful way. We're not shipping things from overseas. We're keeping things as local as possible, and that is important. And it's nice, I think, as much as the global supply chain breakdown has stunk for so many people, it's also really great in a way of people realizing, oh, that's why it is important to shop local. That's why it is such a valuable resource to have these small craft makers.
At Native Maine, we work with over 88 local farms and producers across the state. It's such an honor to be able to work with such amazing farmers and manufacturers.
We really value our partnership with Native Maine. They're just a great group of people to work with. When you buy from a local business, that local business owner is using that money to pay local people to work and then go out into the community and spend those dollars. Native Maine can do that for us, and we can focus on growing the food.
We're the pros at growing the mushrooms, and Native Maine are the pros at distributing them.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Plate the State. We are in Kennebunk at the Hancock Lumber Kitchen Design Showroom, and we're so grateful that we get to cook here. And I'm from Maine, and I've never known how sea salt's produced, so how fun going to Slack Tide and seeing that whole process. And now we use it pretty much on everything. And I know what we're doing for today's recipe, and it's one of my favorites. When I was in Portugal, I used to eat it all the time, and we're really excited to share it with you. Let's go see what Chef Josh has started. Rumor has it you're up to something fishy over here?
I am up to something fishy. We are going to do one of your favorite recipes, salt encrusted fish. And I know you had this in Portugal and it was great, but I want to show it to you with some local fish, okay? So what we have here is this is a whole haddock. We got this from our team down at Harbor Fish Market in Portland. Zach, Nick, Mike, Dan, the whole team there. They're great. They're super incredible. Look at this fish. It's so perfect. Just came in, and we're going to show you how to do this. Now, I did this recipe last week when we were testing out for this episode, and I did it with some bass, some black bass. It came out perfect. But I really want to showcase haddock. Okay. The big difference is bass, snapper, any of those fish, they have a tougher skin. As you can tell, haddock doesn't. Haddock has a very thin skin. So I'm going to show you a way to do this, but still kind of protect the fish and incorporate some aromatics, okay? What I have here is about a dozen egg whites, okay? And I just have some simple kosher salt. I'm going to mix this together until it feels like wet sand, basically. Now, Maggie, this recipe might be a little bit more intricate than you're used to, but the payoff is so much better, right? It's so good to do something like this. A little bit more effort, right? But again, it's gonna be so much better.
I mean, you have nothing else better going on, right? And when you bring out this whole fish to the table, it's like the wow factor is definitely worth it.
It definitely is, yep.
And speaking of that, all of these recipes are on platethestate.com, so you can just sit back and enjoy.
Yep. Okay, so we got this mixed up just so it's kind of like wet, like at the beach, right? Yeah. Like sand like at the beach, okay? Now, even though this is a lot of salt we're adding in here, it's not gonna really incorporate that into the flavor of the fish, okay? So, to trick that, at Slack Tide, they gave us some of the Fisherman's Blend.
It's lemon and dill.
It's got some fresh lemon in there, some dill, super, super aromatic, right? Okay, and so what I'm gonna do first is sprinkle the haddock with just a little bit of the Fisherman's Blend salt, okay? This is really gonna be the only seasoning on it, okay? So we'll get it inside, flip it over.
Now, if somebody at home doesn't have access to this particular salt, would they just use regular salt?
Yeah, I would just use regular salt.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna also add a little bit of black pepper. Okay. And the haddock skin is edible once it's cooked, yep. Okay, so now that it's seasoned, all right, as you can tell here, we have another bowl full of aromatics. So there's some thyme, there's some fresh bay leaves, there's some oregano, we have some lemon peel.
That's wonderful. And when you have your lemon peels, give them a quick little squeeze and that releases those beautiful, fresh, natural oils.
Mix all that together, kind of bruise the herbs. Again, like Maggie said with the lemon, herbs also have natural oils. And so the more you work them, the more they're gonna release that natural flavor that's gonna help the fish.
And then it makes your hands smell really good.
Perfect. Okay. Maggie, why don't you hand me that vessel right there? Okay. So we're gonna place this here. Now I'm gonna take just a little bit of our salt mixer and kind of just make like a bed for the fish. Okay. All right. Now at this point, channel in your inner child and go full Play-Doh action with this, okay? So we wanna push this down. You don't need a huge base at the bottom, okay? So now that we have a little bit down at the bottom, I'm just gonna take a little bit of the herbs, lay those on. Remember, we're just gonna do this to help protect the fish a little bit. A couple lemon peels on there.
So you're not even using half, right?
Yeah, not even half, just a little bit. Now we'll place the fish on top. I like it kind of hanging over the edge. Dramatic factor. And then we're gonna take these herbs.
It will terrify the kids.
We're gonna generously cover the skin, okay? I like those bay leaves in there.
So
that was your idea. I love the bay leaf, the fresh bay leaf.
Every once in a while I have one.
Okay, so now that we have the fish kind of covered with the herbs and the aromatics, then we'll take the rest of our salt and we want to kind of drape it right over. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie it into the salt that we put on the bottom, kind of seal up the fish. Don't worry about a little bit of the tail coming out or the head, it's okay. You could also remove the head completely and the tail completely if you'd like. And then we're gonna add a couple little designs on there. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of pepper. I like that aromatic that the caramelized pepper gets. Now, because we're using haddock will inherently have more moisture in it, like pollock or cod. So there will be a little bit of liquid that comes out from here, and that's just the haddock leaching out some of its natural juices. That's fine. That's completely fine that it does that, okay? But if you're gonna use haddock or cod or one of these style of fish, make sure your rim or your dish that you're putting in has a little bit higher rim, okay? So this is gonna take around 35-40 minutes in the oven.
And while that's in the oven, I'm going to show you how to make preserved lemons in today's pantry tip.
We're getting there to sunnier days, being with the ones we love, and now with those you've missed. This is you remastering the art of life. And while you're getting back at it, we'll be here to help you master the art of money. Norway Savings. Live your life in color.
This week's Pantry Tip is brought to you by Norway Savings Bank.
Hi, and welcome to today's pantry tip. I'm going to show you not only a really great way to eat lemons, but it also makes a really fabulous Christmas gift for the foodies in your life. We are going to make preserved lemons. I'm going to show you how to do just your traditional one with salt, and then we're going to add a few fun flavors at the end. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a lemon, make sure you have a jar and some salt. It's important that you wash your lemons before you cut them. And then, depending on the size jar that you have, just cut the lemons to fit. We have a little jar. All right, so jar, lemon, salt. I'm just gonna be using some kosher salt. Okay, lemon, salt, and then you're gonna cover it up. You can see over here that we put a little wax paper. That's just so that your metal lid doesn't corrode. And then you're going to keep this in a cool, dark place for about 30 days. When it starts to look like this, you know it's getting pretty ready. And every few days, give this a little shakeroo. You can dance around the kitchen with it and then put it back. Okay, here's one that's done. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your thumb and you're gonna take out the pulp, and then you're gonna take a sharp knife and you're going to remove the pith. You don't wanna be eating that part. So, and this is what it's gonna look like. Once we take that out, you're left with the peel. And then cut it up like this. And then you can add it to rice, couscous. It adds this beautiful little brightness into your food. That is just using the salt and the lemon, and it's a really great way to incorporate a lemon flavor into a dish without all the acid. Now, here's some other ways that you can really up your preserving lemon ante. So this one here has fennel, cinnamon sticks, and star anise, and it's a really fun way to incorporate a flavor into like a lamb tagine or something like that. My personal favorite, the North African harissa flavor. It's like zesty and spicy. It goes really great with vegetables and rice. And then you can do the same thing by adding a little bit of sugar, and that's great to add into like a lemon honey chicken or something like that. And like I said, it makes an incredible gift. Get them ready pretty soon before Christmas because it does take 30 days. You can wrap it in a bow and it will make people really happy. So for this, all of these, and any of our pantry tips, please visit platethestate.com.
We've been working with Brown Trading for 8 years. They're one of the largest importers of caviar in the country, and we're so lucky to have them right across the street. Caviar used to be kind of like this only for rich people type thing, and I mean, it's really not.
There's so many caviars, I mean, it's every price range. I'm really proud to be a part of Brown Trading because our desire is to help expose more and more people. It's good for you, it's now sustainable, and I think it's just awesome.
Hi everybody, welcome to today's chef tip. We're going to be talking about some salts. So I have an array of different types of salt here. I have them grouped into sea salts, some terrestrial land salts, some infused salts, and some salt alternatives. I'm going to touch base with a few of them real quick. Some of these you may have in your pantry, or some of them you may have just, you'll see them around. You want to know what they're used for. So this is iodized salt. Since around 1980s, they've been adding iodine to table salt to help with iodine deficiency. So that's like the table salt that you see in salt shakers at diners and restaurants. This is Himalayan rock salt. As you can see, it's kind of pink. And I have a whole large sheet of it right here. Okay, you can see how the granules and the nice veins that are in there, and millions of years old. Dinosaurs peed on that stuff. Here's slack tide sea salt, where we were just at, right on the river right there, where they were getting evaporated. I love this salt. What I particularly like of slack tide salts is you can use it big, or with just a little effort, it can be crumbled up into a smaller grain. I really enjoy that salt. Now we'll talk into a few salt alternatives. This is dulse. It's a Maine seaweed from Ocean Balance. I think they're great. I use this on a lot of different stir fries if I want to get some seasoning in there, but I actually like the ocean flavor that it brings. And I like Ocean Balance. They have a bunch of different dried seaweeds. The kombu, great to start your broths with, and the wakimi would be a finishing one. I love this on salads. Thank you for watching today's chef tip. For this tip and all of our chef's tips, please follow platethestate.com. Thanks so much.
What are you dreaming about? Wake up to Town & Country Federal Credit Union. If you can dream it, we can finance it without stressing your budget. Sweet dreams begin at tcfcu.com.
Today's leftover ideas are brought to you by Town & Country Federal Credit Union, helping you stretch your food dollars.
Hi, welcome to today's leftover idea. I'm going to show you this great idea to do with leftover fish. We want to chill it down first. Scrape it into a bowl. You can see it's nice and chilled. Some of that really nice gelatinous protein right there, that's what we want. Here's some onions that I've just sauteed in butter and chilled again. A little bit of chopped parsley, and then some cracker crumbs. Okay, now we want to mix this all up, and once you're done, you want to form them into little cakes. So these are our nice little fish cakes here. Look at those big pieces of fish, right? The crackers, a good binder in there. The butter that was in the onions and the nice flavors of the fish help really bind it together. Now we're gonna bring these over to the stove and we're gonna pan sear them and get them nice golden brown. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter, and those milk solids are gonna help caramelize our fish cakes and get them nice and golden brown. So for the sauce for the fish cakes, I'm using Rosemont's pasta sauce. It's great on pasta, it's great with spaghetti, meatballs, everything like that, but I actually like fortifying it and mixing in a little bit of butter, okay? And this is almost like a tomato beurre fondue. Look at that sauce. I'm gonna add a couple spoonfuls to our plate right here. I'm gonna add a couple of our fish cakes here. Thanks so much for watching today's leftover idea. For this recipe and all of our leftover recipes, follow platethestate.com. See you next time.
Worked at Harbor Fish since '73. Customers come first. If you don't have respect for the customers, you can't work here. Where else can they go and go up to a window and watch a full crew cutting fish in-house, skinning it, packing it, ready for retail? Don't be nervous to come down to Harbor Fish. If you need help walking up the stairs and get in the door, I'll come out and help you.
Welcome back to the second half of today's featured recipe. This gorgeous salted baked fish just came out of the oven and it is gorgeous.
Do you remember how the salt was like a wet sand? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, feel that now.
Hello.
Right? Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just take a fork, okay? And you want to just kind of serrate around the fish.
And you can picture doing this at the dining room table in front of a group of people. They'll be very impressed.
Yes. And now we're just going to take off these pieces of salt. Look at that. Right, those herbs really protected the fish. Oh, the arrow, oh, it's so, Those aromatics really, really lends well. This whole kitchen now smells like these herbs. So what I have here is some nice fennel that's been braised down with some white beans, Calabrian chili, garlic, some of the preserved lemons, right? And now I'm just gonna take this fish, and my spoon can actually just peel that meat right off, okay? I'm gonna take some of this beautiful fish. We're just gonna lay it in here, okay? Look at that, it just comes right off. Look at that, it's just perfect. This is just perfect, okay? And you bring this to a table and people are just gonna be floored by it, okay? You know when the fish is completely cooked when you can actually just take the whole tail right out like this, okay?
So you have the cartoon cat with the bones.
Yeah, right? So, with that comes right off, all this fish flakes right off, super, super tender, right? And basically it did that because it created a nice seal, so all the liquid and all that steam stayed inside that salt crust, and that's what keeps this fish so moist.
Oh, it looks delicious.
Right? So I'm gonna give it a little bit of pepper. Honestly, it's not as salty as you think, so I always like to finish with a little bit of sea salt. One of my favorites, this roasted garlic aioli that Stonewall makes. A little dollop of that on there. And then we'll put a little bit of fresh fennel frauds around, liven it up a little bit of color on that. Right?
And this Edgecombe bowl, it's just what is showstopper. And because we really stuck with the Mediterranean feel here with the white beans, the fennel, the Calabrian chilies, and then baked saltfish is sort of a Mediterranean thing anyway, Kat from Sopo Wine Co. chose this incredible wine from Montagna, which is in Greece, and which is just full of like sun-dappled afternoons where you just want to be enjoying something like this. The cool thing about this vineyard is they don't use any pumps at all. They use the slope of the region that they're on, the hill that they're on, from the pressing, the bottling, it all just moves downhill, which is sort of a cool story. And the citrus and the rose petals with this wine does an exceptional job complementing all of the flavors in this dish.
A special thanks out to Harbor Fish and their whole team for supplying us with this incredible seafood. And it works so well with the salt from the ocean and the fish from the same waters.
Wonderful.
It really worked. Yeah.
And thank you to Hancock Lumber for letting us cook in their beautiful design showroom in Kennebunk. And to all of you, wherever your appetite takes you, cheers, and we'll see you next time. Give me some.
Hello, sunshine, won't you come in? It's been so long since I've seen that smile. Oh, and I'd be grateful if you would.
Now let's go see what Chef Joss has got.
I want to.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Plate the State. I think salt is one of those. Oh, Jesus, Josh.